Hello, I am Xarkun, or the Czar of Kun. Turn on the closed captions on my videos, and you'll understand what I mean by that. It's pretty funny. Anyway, this is World of Warships Legends, and today I bring you a video in the Tier 7 Russian cruiser, Chapayev. Now, I have featured this ship once before in a video, except the battle was not played by me. It was played by Chili Game 17, and it was an excellent battle. I did not have this ship at the time. I have it now. This is actually a stock Chapayev, so there are no upgrades on it. I only have the mods installed, and if you're interested, you can ask me in the comments, and I'll probably tell you what they are, but it's not really important for the purposes of this video. Instead, I just want to demonstrate what this ship is capable of, even as a stock ship. So obviously we all know that this is a great HE spammer, and that's what it's made for. It can spam HE at incredible ranges, you know, in excess of 19 kilometers, which outranges some battleships. And at those kind of ranges, if you've got a battleship or a cruiser shooting back at you, it's pretty easy to dodge their fire simply by maneuvering your ship a little bit. It throws off their aim quite a lot. You add Vian as an inspiration on your commander on top of that, and you are able to pretty effectively maneuver away from incoming fire and just rain down, you know, hellish HE shells upon the Reds. But this ship has something else going for it that makes it probably my favorite ship in this entire Russian cruiser line, and a better ship, I would say, than that Kutuzov out there. And the thing that it has going for it, it's not the radar, although it does have that, and it's like an 11-kilometer radar or something, which is outrageous. This ship can basically radar anything in its detection radius almost. I think this ship can be detected from 12 kilometers away, so if you find yourself spotted in it and you don't see any ships, you might know that you're spotted by a destroyer, and you can reveal that destroyer's position probably 9 times out of 10 by hitting that radar. It doesn't last for an incredibly long amount of time, as radar doesn't, but it's pretty scary to any destroyers that are going to sneak up on you. Of course, this ship also isn't the most maneuverable. The rudder shift is a little slow. I don't think it looks that slow on paper, but it feels slow when you're playing it. And, you know, now I've just gone on a long spiel about stuff related to this ship, and you're probably wondering, well, what are you referring to when you say that this ship has something that the Kutuzov does not have, something that makes it better than that ship? Well, I'll tell you what that is. That's the bow armor, okay? So right now, currently, or at least when I played this particular battle, the Chapayev comes equipped with 30mm bow armor. There's rumors that that might change in the next update, and we'll have to wait and see as far as that is concerned. I believe Wargaming said they might dial this ship down a little bit, whatever that means. I assume that might mean a nerf to the armor. 30mm bow armor, of course, cannot be overmatched by the guns of any ship currently in the game. That would change once people start driving Yamatos around. Maybe Grosse Kurfürst too, although I think the Grosse Kurfürst has 406mm guns, which still can't overmatch 30mm bow armor. Anyway, this Chapayev, in its current state at least, can bow tank Iowas, Alabamas, Synops, anything with 406 or 410 millimeter guns, so Amagis, not that you see those very often anymore, and Nagatos, and of course all the 15-inch gun battleships like your Jean Barts, all the German battleships, etc. You can bow tank all of them. Its bow can bounce their shells because it can't be overmatched. Now, like I said, that might change. If it does change, I suspect they might lower that armor threshold from 30 millimeters to 27 millimeters. If they end up doing that, then the Chapayev will still be able to bow tank any battleship with 15-inch guns, which is a lot of them, perhaps even the majority. So it won't be that much of a nerf, but you'll have to worry a little bit more about Iowas and the like if that is what occurs. And in fact, the Baltimore is getting a buff to its armor, its bow armor, after I think the next update should be 27 millimeters, which will allow it to bow tank any battleship with 15-inch guns. Anyway, that 30 millimeters of bow armor is significant, and the reason I picked this game is because I think it demonstrates the full range of this ship's capabilities. Like I said, this ship is stock, so I think my max firing range is something like 17 kilometers, which is still pretty excellent as far as cruisers are concerned. And of course, the Chapayev, like all the other Russian cruisers, has flat shell firing arcs, and that makes the guns pretty easy to aim, makes it pretty easy to get shells on target. When they hit the targets, they tend to light fires and cause lots of consternation and mayhem to anybody who's on the receiving end of a Chapayev's HE spam. So obviously that's what I've been doing so far for the majority of this game, and I've racked up 70,000 damage doing it. Took down a destroyer, I believe. So, you know, there's a demonstration of that kind of HE spamming sniping that this Chapayev and the other Russian cruisers are sort of made for doing. But because this Chapayev has 30 millimeter bow armor, at least right now, that means it can do other things. It really doesn't necessarily need to sit in the back of the map shooting HE at battleships and the like, especially not late in the game where half the enemy team is gone. At that point, it is perfectly capable of moving in very aggressively and bow tanking whatever remaining battleships are left and looking for any remaining enemy destroyers. So that's what I'm doing here. I am continuing to lay down fire on this Jean Bart, who is not aware of my position since the island is blocking his view of me, and I'm just moving up here in order to get closer to these guys. I think stock this Chapayev has torpedoes which range out to something like 3.7 kilometers, which is somewhat ridiculous, but also irrelevant if you can get close enough to a battleship to use them, and that is my intention here. I'm sailing forward. This Jean Bart doesn't appear to be very concerned about my presence or about my HE shells ripping into his superstructure. He appears to be distracted by, I guess, the destroyers that are shooting torpedoes at him, and I suppose you can't really blame him for that. Looks like one of the torpedoes does clip him there, but, you know, he's not going to be around for very long, and I'm glad he didn't shoot at me, because what I'm about to do next here would not have been possible. So, you see here, there's a Jean Bart 4.9 kilometers away from me around the corner. In any other cruiser except the Edinburgh, what I'm about to do here would be complete suicide. But because I'm in the Chapayev with my 30mm bow armor, I am perfectly safe when I turn this corner and start bow tanking the Jean Bart. Now, the Jean Bart can shoot AP at me, and most likely he's going to hit my bow and do next to no damage. Some of those shells probably struck a little higher on the ship into the superstructure for over-penetrations, and, you know, it'll do a little bit of chip damage that way, but the vast majority of them just bounce harmlessly off of the bow armor. And, by the way, if the Chapayev is nerfed in the way that I think it might be, and it receives 27mm bow armor instead of the 30mm bow armor, it would still be perfectly capable of doing this to a Jean Bart. So that, essentially, is what I think makes this ship a lot better than the Kutuzov. Kutuzov can't take this kind of punishment. If it pulled right in front of a Jean Bart, the Jean Bart would shoot it right through the bow, citadel it, and possibly take it down in one hit. There goes that last destroyer. Now we've only got the Alabama left. We're at 130,000 damage, so it hasn't been a bad game at all. Again, this is a stock Chapayev, and I am able to relatively easily achieve these kind of results with just the stock ship, so I imagine it'll play even better once I have it fully upgraded. Maybe I can even get a crazy damage game like Chili Games did in the Chapayev video on my channel. But I don't know, you know, he's a pretty good cruiser player. I maybe am not. Anyway, going towards this Alabama, if he shoots at me, his shells are going to bounce off harmlessly. And, you know, that might not be the case if this thing gets nerfed, but guess we're enjoying it while we can. We're going to be too close to this Alabama. We are going to launch the torpedoes, but they aren't actually going to do anything because they're too close, so they couldn't arm. Nevertheless, we hit him for, I guess, a ram, and he goes down. So that's it there for you. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.